Hi friends, it's good to see you. This video is going to be a little different maybe from some of my others. It's going to be a bit more of a reflection and sharing a bit more of my story and the last visit I made to see my family before I estranged. So if you have a few minutes, grab a cup of tea, grab some coffee, get comfortable, and I'll talk you through it. Hi friends, if we haven't met yet, my name's Chess. I'm a psychotherapist, I'm a coach, and I am sadly estranged from my family. And I was thinking about my last visit to them, and I really wanted to share some thoughts with you guys. Because family estrangement, I think, is something that we can have so many assumptions around how it happened. And the more I think about mine, the more, honestly, sometimes the more confused I am. I think that I estranged from my family, and then sometimes I think, but really, did they estrange from me? I have more questions than answers the further I go, so I thought I'd tell you a bit more about my last visit. This visit was actually 4 years before I started the cutoff process. It was a time in my life when I hadn't even considered estrangement. I mean, yes, I knew what the word meant, but it was no way was it on my radar, was it anything that I ever thought that I would do. It was just so beyond anything that I thought would ever happen to me. And yet when I look back on that last visit, there were so many problems and warning signs, and yet I was still trying my best. I was still trying so hard to make the relationship work. So I'll tell you a bit more about that visit and then things that happened since that visit that really led into the actual cutoff. So winding back the clock, it was about 8 years ago now. So it's been about 4 years since I estranged. So it's another 4 more years or so before then. I'd been living overseas for a while, but I decided to go back for a visit to see my parents and my sister. And I was determined. I remember that I just really wanted it to work because so many other aspects of my life were going well. And I just felt that I wanted to have a good relationship with my family. And this is actually something that I've thought really since adulthood, even before that actually, how can I have a better relationship with my family? And so for this visit, there were a few things I did differently. I went just by myself. I chose just to visit with my family. I didn't go and visit friends. I didn't go and visit other relatives because when I'd done that before, my mum and my dad would kind of complain. They'd be unhappy that I went back, but there was never enough time and I was always gallivanting around and seeing other people. And so they were always thinking that I wasn't spending enough time just with them. And they've moved to a different part of the UK than I know. I don't know anyone where they live. And it's the kind of place that a lot of people retire to. So it's probably not the kind of place that I would choose in my mid-adulthood to go and hang out. But I thought, I'm going to go and visit them, so this is what I'll do. So I went to see them and I basically just tried to slot in with whatever they wanted. I saw my sister and her family. We went to my dad's golf course. I really tried to do the things that they wanted to do. Of course, I'm not a martyr, and I'm sure that we had conversations where they would have asked me about things that I wanted to do. But I do remember, and I feel very clearly about the relationship, that at this point I'd really learned to kind of censor myself. And I knew that, say, going to see a friend was not going to go down well. If I chose to do something that took away time from what they wanted to do, it was kind of frowned upon. It wasn't looked upon in a very good light. So I just basically spent time with them. And I remember saying to myself, I'm going to put my best foot forward every time. I'm just determined to make this work. I don't want any more arguments. I don't want any more strife. I just want to have a good visit with them. And right at the end of the week. I was there for a week, and we went out for a meal, and it was kind of in a busy pub, a local pub, and it was my mum and my dad and my sister, my brother-in-law and my sister's children. And I remember at this meal, it was my last full day there, and my dad stood up and wanted to make this speech because he's the head of the family and that's what he wanted to do. So he tapped on the glass like he thought it was at a wedding reception or something. And he said, and these are his words, he said, "Well, I'm sure we can all agree that Chess's visit wasn't nearly as bad as we thought it was going to be." He actually stood up in the middle of a pub, a public place, and proclaimed this. I was mortified for myself. I was just like, oh my God. But I think I've been so used to them embarrassing me and saying bad things and putting me down in these subtly cruel and nasty ways. I just remember thinking, oh my God, I'm here, my brother-in-law. Like, I was so embarrassed. I was embarrassed for him to hear it, and for myself because I was being made out to be this awful person. And my sister's kids, they were teens at that point. And I was like, you're just making me look awful. You're talking as if I'm some problematic toddler rather than a 40-year-old successful woman who you're supposed to love, and who's given up time, paid a lot of money to come and see you. My husband wasn't there. I'd come on my own. I hadn't seen anybody else. I was on unpaid leave. And that is how you want to talk to me? And that is how you want to view my visit? At the time, of course, I just let it go because I realized that that's just what my family do. But walking away from the pub, I also remember distinctly. I remember saying to myself, I am never going to put myself through this again. I'm never going to come back here on my own, without my husband, without support, and put myself in the situation where I can be talked to or about or whatever, where someone can say that about me. But I wasn't thinking of estrangement. So fast forward to when the estrangement really started to happen. I went to see a counselor because I still couldn't figure out how to have a good relationship with my family. And I went to see her and I said, please, can you help me understand? Can you help me have a better relationship with my family? I didn't want to estrange. I wasn't looking for what was wrong with them. I was like, can you tell me what I'm doing wrong here? What is wrong with me? Why am I not able to communicate with my family? Because at that point, so 4 years after the visit and the pub incident, I'd suggested to my family that I was going to go back for another visit. I hadn't gone for 4 years, and that's, I think, quite a long time. And I'd suggested to my sister and my parents that I would go back for another visit with my husband this time. Actually, what I hadn't told them was that I was going to stay with my aunt and uncle and just visit with the rest of my family, but we didn't get there. And so I'd suggested to them that my husband and I were going to make this visit, and their response to me was, the timing is inconvenient, perhaps another year would work. It's like, I'm sorry, you're busy for the whole year for me to come and visit? It's inconvenient for me to suggest 365 days where I might pop in for a cup of tea. And then my dad even said this to me. I can't believe it. He said, and actually, Chess, it's quite inconsiderate of you to suggest these dates because of the things that they were doing in their life or their lives. And I just remember thinking, what is wrong with you? I live overseas. I know what it's like when someone says that they're going to go to that effort to come to visit me. I understand the time, the money, the hassle, and I think it's such an honor that someone even thinks about coming to visit me. I just think it's such a gift that someone would come and visit me. And yet when I said I was going to visit my family, and their response was, it's really not convenient for us and there's something wrong with you to suggest it, I was horrified. I was absolutely horrified. And on the back of what had happened on the previous visit with that awful meal in the pub, that's when I went to see the counsellor, and I just said, can you help me? What am I doing wrong? I just want to have a good relationship with my family. And her response was, Jess, it's not you. It's them. You're not doing anything wrong here. The way they're responding for you isn't fair, it's not kind. And there's a lot more to the story. I had contacted my dad and said, you know, I think it's really unreasonable that you've said that I'm being inconsiderate by suggesting these dates, you know, and I was really hurt by what you said to me in the pub. And of course his response was, oh, well, I had no idea. We don't remember it. The thing in the pub didn't happen. I spoke to your mum. No, she doesn't know it. We'd know if that had happened. And I'm like, stop denying this. Stop denying the truth. I know what happened. I was there, and you can make all the excuses that you want. But actually what you're doing, is you're proving how unsafe you are. You're proving how there is no hope for this relationship. You're proving that you're not open to any kind of conversation where I can say, look, this is not working for me. It was just another nail in the coffin. And when I went to see that counsellor, I was just like, oh my gosh, what am I dealing with? The next part is a whole other story, because that led to the actual estrangement, a lot of very difficult behaviors from my family side, and really a mental health crisis for me. But I got through it, and I'm here to tell the tale. And I think the one thing I do want to say is that, actually, I don't really know what I want to say. I just wanted to share it because I think that people can so often look at the subject of estrangement, or look at videos on YouTube and not understand really some of the detail and the real heartbreak that can come from, I don't even know what the word is, just families who can't be families. They just can't do it. They just can't do it. Anyway, there's lots more to my story. I'll probably continue it on in another video, but that's everything for today. Thanks for being here. If you're going through a difficult time with family, please know from my heart and soul to yours that I don't know what you're going through, all the details, but I think I get it on some level, and I'm sorry, and you're not alone. Please take care. I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.